In this massive ocean floor, across the 7 seas, a dedicated strong team is steering towards the open shores. Their vision is not only to try, but to excel beyond their capabilities. They sworn to innovate technology without limits. They are the Tryx. Hi everyone, today we're going to have a look at this liquid AIO coming from Tryx, known as the Panorama 360. I'd like to thank Tryx for your generosity to have provided this unit for me to share with everybody. The first thing I noticed is the box itself. This is not very big as compared to some other liquid AIO, which is 360. See, this is so much bigger. Now, when I unbox this, it feels so premium. Let me show you why. See, it gives you the vibe of opening up a NVIDIA FE card. And when you unbox everything, it will show you the unit itself and the accessories. Without further ado, let's dig into it. Ladies and gentlemen, are you guys ready for a treasure hunt? Alright, I'm only kidding. This is the instruction menu that comes in the unit, and why am I showing you this? Just an appreciation. The readings on this instruction menu is fantastic. First of all, it's in green. It's so smoothing to the eye. Second of all the components listed, where how to do the mounting and all the accessories, it all pops out. I don't have to strain my eyes looking at it, just like others that comes in a simple black and white leaflet or a instruction menu. So kudos to Tryx, you've done this right. Alright, besides this, it does come with all the accessories, of course. First of all, the extension cable for your radiator fans, a tube of 2 gram thermal paste, a bag of radiator screws, 12 of them. This is meant for you to mount your radiator to the case. The AMD bracket, where you remove off the bracket from your motherboard and to replace this bracket to it before you can mount the unit. An Intel backplate, the Intel standoffs, 2 bags of retention board to mount your block to the processor. And with the lines over here, as you notice, right, this is for Intel. Without is for AMD. The main unit consists of 2 colors, which is in black or in white. It does offer different sizes too. What you see here is the 360 variant. You can also choose the 240 variant or the 280 variant. Be it whether the different color or different sizes, you can choose the fans too. It happens that these are non-ARGB fans, which is known as the Rota Pro 120. As mentioned to you, you can choose the fan type. These are non-ARGB. You can choose the ARGB version. Now, I'll start off with the design of the pump block. As you can see, it's very massive. And this whole block over here, you can detach off from the pump block. And this is where you have the screen. And this is how the design looks like at one side. At the other end, nice groove pattern with a subtle labeling stated AMOLED 2K, cooled by Aztec. And right at the bottom over here, right, there are detailed design, some design. And at this end, right, it has the grill pattern, which have the labeled Tryx. And right at the rear, this is where you see circular ventilated holes and the grill ventilated holes. I'll explain to you what this do. And of course, to control the screen, you will need this cable, which is a 9-pin USB connector. Now at the bottom, you have the pump area and a VRM fan area. And this is 60mm. By the way, this is a Aztec Generation 8 pump, just for your info. And this is how it looks like. Now I'll further explain to you about all the vent holes at the bottom, but before I do so, right, take a look. This is where it has a subtle logo, the Tryx logo, and the wording stated over here: empower your possibilities. Now, as mentioned to you, I'm going to talk about the ventilated holes. Oh, before I do so, it does come with a cable, which is 4-pin PWM connector to control your pump and the VRM fan. Now, as for the ventilated areas where you have this over here at the bottom, this is to cool down the pump, okay, or drawing cool air in and out. Else, for this side over here, where you have the steep slope over here, this is for the cool air to exhaust out when the VRM heatsink, VRM fan is drawing cool air in here. So in here, out here. Same goes to this area, in here, out here. And it happened that how the orientation work is that this is towards the rear IO VRM heatsink, and this is towards the side VRM heatsink. So you're right, when you mount the unit itself, the holes will be facing towards the M.2 heatsink. There's only one orientation, okay, for your information, and this is facing towards the RAMs. So make sure that the hose is facing bottom, where it's near your M.2. As I mentioned to you, right, see, the cool air that dissipates through here, right, is towards your rear VRM heatsink. Else, for here, is dissipating cool air through here to your side VRM. And this is how it works on the orientation. Now, the whole top section, right, there are no cool air where you can draw in. It's concealed, 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 concealed. The only area is at the rear where you have the ventilated areas. So this is where it comes to play. Now, before I explain further, right, to mount this back to the unit, make sure you lock this cable to this slot over here. Do not place it down here, because by force, if you do it this way, right, you might just cut the cable. So make sure that, be mindful to lock it this area, then place it this way. Alright, having the ventilated area to the rear, or you can simply say this flat surface, because the other surface is with the grooving patterns. This flat surface, okay, facing your hose or tube, then you mount it back. So as you can see, drawing cool air through here, dissipating cool air through here, which cool off your rear VRM heatsink. And over at this end, okay, still drawing cool air from the rear, and you will push the cool air from the bottom. Okay, as you can see over here, right, the bottom, see, there's some salt over here, so it will cool your side VRM. Now, when I flip over the pump block itself, you will see that it exposed a very massive cold plate, which is made of copper. This tells me that it will have good thermal results, and it's with a pre-paste. Now, at all times when you're not mounting this to your processor, please keep this cap closed so that you will not smudge the thermal paste. Now, next, for the specs and dimension of this pump over here. First of all, the screen itself. Now, before I do so, right, I was hoping that Tryx should supply some cloth, or microfabric cloth, so that I clean this. It will give a better experience for your consumers, since it's a premium product. So I wish they can do this. Alright, now for the dimension and specs, let's talk about the specs. For this whole screen here, this is a 6.5 inch AMOLED screen that runs on 2K and at 60 Hz. And as for the pump itself, it's a Ace-Tech Generation 8 pump that has a max RPM of 2600. And as mentioned to you, there is a VRM fan which is 60mm in dimension. And as for the drawing power of the pump and the VRM, is rated at 12 volt DC at a current of 0.45 ampere. And the pump noise is rated at 25.3 decibel. Now, coming to the measurements, from here to here is measuring at 80mm. From here to the side is at 86mm. And from the cold plate to the top is at 115.5 millimeter. Next will be the radiator, then the fan. I'll talk about the radiator. The construction and design of the radiator is very sturdy. I should say very strong. And both ends of the radiator, be it this side, you have a subtle label that says Tryx. Same goes to the other side. See, nicely done. And it does have a very nice braided hose, as you can see over here. And this hose length is at 400. With each side, starting from the radiator end, these are rubber studs or butt. And on the pump side, same thing, rubber butts, and is swivelable. As for the dimension on the radiator, starting off from here to here is at 399.5 millimeter. From here to here is at 120 millimeter. And as for the thickness, this is at 30 millimeter. If you include the fan, which is 25 millimeter, total will give you a 55 millimeter. Now, something to emphasize on the hose itself. As I use my vernier caliper to measure this tube, each have a diameter of 12 millimeter, and I believe the inner tube is of 8 millimeter, which will allow a lot of water flowing through between the pump and to the radiator, and this will dissipate lots of heat. And another thing is that the fin stack. Now, I have never came across such fin stack that is so dense. Max is up to 24 fins per inch. In fact, the common ones are 19 fins per inch, and the more dense are either 20 or 24 fins per inch. But for this, right, it has a total of 28 fins per inch as I measured. Fantastic. This will definitely absorb lots of heat based on the fact that it has a 30 millimeter thickness, which is already very dense, a lot of surface area, plus the fin stack, which is 28 fins per inch. I can see how much cooling it can do with this liquid AIO. Now, as for the radiator fans, I'm not going to dismantle the radiator fans and talk about it, since Tryx, as mentioned, your generosity is fantastic. You provided additional fans for me, which I'll be doing in a build. Now, talking about the fans, before I say this, right, be it the packaging on the liquid AIO or the individual fans, they are so nicely packed, and it does makes me feel very premium when I touch the item, which indeed they are. Now, these are the Rota 120, or should I say Rota Pro 120. The build structure of it, it's very sturdy, it doesn't wobble, and best of all, it's in a square shape, whereby if you were to fit this on the radiator itself, there won't be any air gaps, meaning to say all the concentration of the air flowing through the fan, it will go directly to your radiator. Now, besides this, at both ends you have this rubber grommets, the anti-vibration rubber grommets, nicely done, and it's of a 9-blader, and mind you, these are made of LCP, which is liquid crystal polymer. As mentioned in most of my review, anything that has got to do with LCP, the rotor, you have to align properly. If not, it will not perform. As you can see, right, as I swivel, see, this does not wobble. It gives a consistent straight line. Now, next is the appearance on this cap over here. A very nice chrome finish, okay, with my fingerprints, so sorry about this, and with some words that says empower possibility, or says, empowering possibilities. And at this end, right, okay, it's just with the frame and such, pretty normal. Now, rating on this fans is pretty straightforward. Oh, so sorry about this. There are design on the frame itself is pretty subtle. You have the Tryx logo on both ends, and on this end, right, it shows the wind direction, as in like the airflow direction. So it's pulling air from the back coming from the front. See, nice thought. All right, coming for the specs itself, these are rated at 12 volt DC of each fan, and it has a drawing current of 0.22 ampere, and the RPM max is at 2250 RPM and the minimum of 500 RPM. Now, something to take note when you're getting this liquid AIO with the ARGB. It happened that these are the performance. So if you were to take a look from the radiator, the AIO box, it tells you for the Rota Pro, which I'm having, right, it has a higher CFM. Okay, if you are getting the Rota ARGB, which is non-pro, it's of a lower CFM. So do take note on this. If you intend to purchase the ARGB, right, there might be a slight drop on performance, as in like, you know, to cool down the system. And why is this so? As mentioned to you, this Rota Pro 120, they are made of liquid crystal polymer. If you want to purchase the ARGB version, right, it can't be liquid crystal polymer. So that's why they have to realign the fan speed itself. So that's the reason why for the ARGB version, right, it has a lower CFM. So take note on this. Now, besides this, right, the daisy chain is pretty simple, which you can see over here. All nicely done. The cables are pretty short, so you can just daisy chain from one fan to another. And if you find that this is short, sometimes it's just nice to reach where it is. If you were to place the if you were to place this like this, where your motherboard is, right, normally your CPU fan header is down here. If it's not long enough, right, they do provide you with a extension, which is this. Everything nicely thought of. Well done. Preparation on the Intel platform. This liquid AIO does support LGA socket of 115X, 1200, 1700, and the latest socket, which is the 1851. With me is the 1700 socket. First thing to prepare is the backplate. Now, there are 4 points over here where you can swivel out or in. If you make it in on all the 4 points, is to support 115X and above, inclusive of the 1200. Now, as for 1700 socket, you will need to push all this out, which I've shown you. Next, turn over your motherboard, and you will see that there are 4 screw holes at the side. Let me just zoom in. Using the backplate, place all this to the holes, and there is an orientation. If you notice that this is a rectangular shape, make sure it's in this position and not this position. Follow the position over here. It's in like the long rectangular width is like this, so the orientation is this way. Do not place it this way. If you place it this way, right, it will not fit. So having this direction, right, just place this 4 point to the holes, and do not force it. It should glide easily into the hole. See, this is done. Once this is done, right, holding on to the backplate to your back of the motherboard, flip it over. And when you're flipping over, right, still holding on to the backplate. Okay, let me just zoom out. Make use of the standoff screws, total of 4. Now, it doesn't matter which direction, both are of the same length. You see the screw thread. Make use of this, screw down the points on the 4 holes. This will hold the backplate to your motherboard. And when you're doing this, right, I would recommend you to do it outside the case and not inside the case. so you have better control. And if you were to do this inside the case, right, your back plate might just fall off, especially when you like to do it, you know, in a standing position inside the case. So don't do this. Now, also to advise that you do it on this 3 corner first, then you can put it down, leaving the last one, right, to fasten this, as this is having a very tight corner. So you need to, you know, feel it, slowly twist it. Now with this said, right, I hope that Tryx will have some kind of tool, additional tool, which extend out to catch on this standoff and to screw it down. It'll be much more easier. Now once this is done, just do hand tight, don't have to be very tight. Next thing to do is to prepare the block. Now as a block, there is a pre-paste on the cold plate. Okay, before I talk about that, first thing to do, remove the top, which contains the LCD. This will give you more control to hold the block when you mount to your processor. So next thing you need to do, okay, let me just zoom out. Next thing you need to do is to clean the processor with alcohol. Then remove this cap, since there is a pre-paste. Okay, I'm not going to remove it. Make sure you just remove. You don't have to apply thermal paste as mentioned. There is a pre-paste. What you need to do is just to align this 4 areas, right, to the thread, and make sure that the hose is facing towards the M.2. Since I don't have the processor, I'll just go through motion. So once you've aligned everything properly, next is to make use of the mounting board, which this mounting board has a line, as you can see, surround the board. So you fasten one side, you don't have to tighten all the way, just make it one turn, then followed by diagonally at the bottom from here, and you repeat the whole process. So if you were to do it this way, right, as in like screw in this, screw in this, screw in this, screw in this, and to repeat the pattern, right, you will have a even pressure of the cold plate to your processor, and that will yield very good results. Once you've done that, okay, assuming this is already in, first thing to do, a very important point, whereby you have this pump cable and the VRM fan, which is through this 4-pin PWM connector. Connect this to the water pump header on your motherboard. For ASU, which should be AIO_pump, and for the rest, right, it's either it's either water_pump or pump. So make sure you plug that to that header. Reason being, right, it has more amperage to provide power to the pump, especially for this unit, because this connector control both the VRM fan and the pump, so it will draw much more current, which is at 0.45 ampere. So just plug it to the pump area. I believe this is the pump. So this is done. Then next thing, assuming this is down, right, is to plug. I would advise you to plug this 9-pin USB cable first, okay, to your motherboard. So once you've done that, right, you can then mount this in. When you mount this in, again, make sure that, as mentioned, this wire is tucked to here. Then you can just slot in, which is like this. Once you're done mounting the screen, the final step, which is also another important step, which is the 4-pin PWM fan connector of your radiator fans. Plug this to the CPU fan 1, okay, not CPU fan op. If it is not long enough, there is an extension that's provided in this unit. Just extend it and make sure you plug it, I repeat again, to CPU fan 1 and not CPU fan op or system fan or chassis fan. Make sure it's at the CPU fan 1. Once you've done this, right, you can do your cable management and such, and this is done. For AMD platform, it does support AM4 or AM5. Now I'm illustrating on the AM5 platform. First thing you need to do, make sure you don't have the RAMs, which I will take it out. Then followed by removing this two bracket. Unscrew all this so that you can take it out. Once you have this right, plug this in. So let me just zoom in. Now there are orientation to this, whereby it should be this way, facing in. Okay, do not make this facing out. If you're gonna make it face out, you will not be able to fit your block to the area. So make sure you do it this way. And once you have done that, make sure you use back the screws that's holding on to this bracket and to screw it down. Now I'm just going to zoom out. So as mentioned, right, using the screws that come with it that holds this bracket, tighten all this down. It's pretty straightforward. I would advise first to anchor all this screw down. You don't have to, fully tighten it. When the screw reaches to a certain limit with minimum strength, which right now I'm doing, once you've done this right, then tighten the 4 screws. Just hand tight. Once this is done, next thing to do, apply alcohol, clean the surface of the processor, which I've already done. Next thing, preparation on the block. Now for the block, make sure you remove off the screen top, as mentioned, to have a better grip. And how you mount it, remove off this. Since I have the processor, I'm going to show you how I do it. Okay, ensuring that the holes are facing at the bottom, and to thread this 4 point 1 2 3 4 to these threads over here. Then once you align it, okay, make sure you align properly. Press the whole thing down, wiggle it a bit. Okay, still leaving pressure at the center of the block. Use the mounting board. Now this mounting board does not have a line. This is meant for AM5 or AM4. Thread them down as mentioned to you. Okay, I'm just going to thread them till it touches the brim of the board. You don't have to tighten all the way, alright? So this is done. Let me just see the other way. This is also done. Followed by 2 corners, which is the top right and the bottom left. So once you have done this right, you can make use of your screwdriver to tighten them, and in a alternate fashion. Meaning you say 1 point 1 point, it's like 1 turn 1 turn 1 turn 1 turn. Repeat the whole process so that your cold plate will sit or balance to apply pressure of the cold plate to your processor. I've already done tightening all the 4 points. Again, as a reminder, first to anchor it, you don't have to screw down all the way. Just make sure that it touches the brim of your board. Then what you need to do, right, alternately screw one side to 1 turn, the other end 1 turn, followed by here 1 turn, and followed by here 1 turn. Repeat the steps so that, again, as mentioned, if you want to have good thermal results, this will definitely ensure that your pressure of the block goes balanced and to press evenly to your processor. Now next thing, make sure you connect this. I repeat this again, make sure you plug this which is supplying power to your VRM fan and your pump to the AIO pump connector or the water pump connector, not the fan connector, CPU fan 1 or CPU op or system or chassis fan. Okay, make sure it's at the pump connector, which I know that this is actually the pump connector. I will just plug it over here. Then followed by, probably you can actually tuck this cable properly. Okay, followed by this screen over here. Again, plug the 9-pin USB connector to the motherboard first. The reason to do this, right, I mean, you can plug it in and, you know, feather a bit, but sometimes, you know, just stretch it, right, you might just rip off the cable. So I rather you plug this first, which is here, then followed by plugging this back in place. Now when you plug it back in place, make sure that the cable slot nicely through here, then place it in, and this is done. Okay, once this is done, you can cable tie this and say, I mean, it's like tidying up this cables over here. The last most important point, which is the last step, this is your radiator fan connector. Make sure this is pumped, right? I mean, make sure this is connected. If you don't connect this, it's not going to cool your radiator. Then your temperature will go up and you might reboot your system and such. So make sure you plug this to CPU fan 1, which I know that is here. This is CPU fan 1 for my board. Do not plug this in CPU op, okay? Now, part of the reason why I say that do not plug at CPU op. CPU op does not have a dedicated control. Else it is sharing, or should I say the CPU fan 1 is sharing with CPU fan op. So the total master control is on the CPU fan 1. Same goes, you do not plug this to your system fan or your, you know, chassis fan headers. Reason being, right, on the UEFI of your motherboard, some of them, they have this CPU fan warning. So that's the reason why you have to plug to the CPU fan 1. Which in turn, if let's say there are some malfunction on the fan itself, right, your system will be able to prompt you to take action. Okay. So once you've done this, right, okay, I can't see the angle, it's too tight. Okay, anyway, assuming this is in, then you can plug to your, I mean, you can plug your RAMs in, and it's done. In order for you to control the screen, you will need to download the application. Go to Tryx official website, then click on software, click on Canali, and you have this. Download this application. Once you've fully downloaded, just install it. And during the installation process, right, it will prompt you to update the firmware of your screen. Let it update. Do not close the application. Just wait till once that is done, it will restart the whole application. So do take note on that. This is how the application looks like to control the screen. It's known as the Canali application. I'll first start off with the home. Now, as you can see, right, under home there are two selections over here, the dashboard and the specification. If you click on specification, it will show you what you're using in the system. Then back to the dashboard, where you have this screen setting. When you click on it, you can customize whatever you want, which I will talk about it later. Back to home. So when you scroll down, right, this will be showing you the stats on your network, on your CPU load, and etc. Now, back to this. If you click on this, it will take you to this setting over here. Same goes to when you click over here. So as and when you want to change this animated screen, right, you can just select. See, it's pretty straightforward. So whatever you have select, it will just appear instantly. So there are sections that you can choose. Okay, just to show you. This is my personal favorite. In fact, this is my personal favorite. Yeah, pretty cool, eh? Now at the top section where you have this customize, I will show you later what this is. These are the presets that you can do. Then you can off the screen if you don't want to. See, you just turn off. You can turn it on. Over here is the setting. Sleep mode is whereby when your system goes to sleep, right, this will turn off. I've tried that, but right now I'm not going to put to sleep. Next will be brightness. I find that the perfect brightness will be at 25%. If you do set too high, right, it's overexposure. Probably you like it, you can leave it this way, but to prolong the life of your screen, right, I would to suggest not to go up above 50%. Okay, you can leave it at 50%, but for me 25 is the correct, it's the right tone for me. Now the camera over here, right, doesn't really show the actual brightness. Okay, I have to be honest with you. So 25 to me, right, is pretty bright when I look at it with my own eyes. So this is my setting. Now when it comes to VRM fan, you can also set the VRM fan, which is on the palm block itself. You can set to mid, you can set to high, you can set to full. And of course, when you do all this, right, on the selected, let's say you select at mid speed. Okay, you save the change. The VRM fan will go up in speed, the RPM itself, as you can see over here. Or you can set your own curve. Okay, you can move up, move down, and such. So when you move up, for example, let's say I move up, take a look at the RPM. So when I save it, right, it will just pump. See? Sorry, not the pump, but this. And it's pretty lousy, pretty noisy right now. You can just reset and you will just go down. Click on save. See, it will just pump down. Okay, this is VRM fan. Now, next at the bottom section, besides playing the preset, okay, which I will probably change another. Let's say this. You want to show your system stats and such. Over at this bottom section where you say system info display, you can select up to 3 items. So I'm just going to display the CPU temperature, the GPU temperature, and probably I will say the motherboard temperature. And you can select the color depending on the background. This is pretty bright, so I would say set it at white. Then you can click on save. When you click on save, right, it will show on the most left hand corner. So over here, right, you can just click on the center portion, click on save. See, it will show in the middle. If you do click on the last one, which is this, it will show on the extreme right. So right now I'm just going to set it at the center. So this is how you actually toggle it. And besides this, right, you can toggle some filter. Let's say you want some, smoke effect. You can just click here and to apply. Look at the screen. See, you will have a smoke effect. Or if you want to, right, uncheck the smoke, click on rain, and this gives you the rain effect. Did I click on that? Yep, I did. Okay, probably you can't see this very much because it's very bright. Probably later I will change. Okay, probably I will change to another screen. See, you can see the rain itself, the droplets. Or you can just turn it off. Okay, now another good thing is, let me just go back. Okay, probably I'll do something dark so that you can see the, okay, is this the one? Okay, so that you can see the temperature. Now besides this, right, you can do badges. So you want to show what kind of system you're using and what kind of GPU you're using, you just click save and it will show here. Now I can't show you on the actual run, but it does display that what processor you're using over here, which is the AMD 7950X, and over on my right is the APU, which is the Radeon GPU. So these two are the stats or badge to show your system and your GPU that you're using. Now besides this, right, you might say that, oh, this is kind of like boring. It's like, you know, using the preset. Why not do it myself? Yes, you can. What is needed? Click on customize, or should I say customization. Now there are two sections over here. This is full screen, or you want to have split, meaning you say this is full screen. You want to have split over here, 1 and 2, which is here and here. I'll start off with the full screen. You can load. Okay, let me just get rid of all the temperature over here. Oh, sorry. I should get rid of here. Okay, it's done. Now, under customization on this, right, where it says full screen, highlight on it, you can upload. See, I have my files over here. For example, let's say I want to display this. It comes to this screen where you can select 2:1 ratio. Okay, 1:1 ratio. Okay, 1:1 ratio, that means to say you using the split screen. 2:1 ratio, as you can see here, 2:1 ratio, this is meant full screen. Okay, let me just load. See, it's pretty straightforward. So you just highlight whatever you want to show, then you just click on done, and this will upload. And it's going to take a few minutes. See, it's done. So when I click on save, look at the screen right now. It's whatever you have uploaded, which is at the bottom. Okay, whatever you upload, right, it will show over here. This is your media library. So let's say I want to upload again on another picture. Let's say I want to do this. Right, click on done. Again, this is actually 2:1 ratio you can upload. And with this say, right, you can do shuffle as long as you load how many pictures over here, right, under 2:1, right, you can make use of this full screen. And you can either set single, where it will just display whatever you highlighted. See, let's say save. See, this is what I've highlighted. Or you can click on this and save. This is being displayed. So long as you have upload more and more, take for example, I want to upload this and it's at 2:1 ratio. Okay, done. You will upload. You can set this to do shuffle. So when I save this, right, this will take some time. Okay, other one have these three settings over here you can remove. Now it's gonna shuffle, take some time to shuffle. I would say a few seconds, 30 seconds or so. Then it will just change to the next picture, where you can see the picture over here, right? These are the pictures they uploaded. So this is gonna take time. It will change. See, it changed. So this is what I mean by shuffle. Or you can do in a loop. Just loop again and again, again and again throughout the whole run. Now coming to the single. So I've select this split. When you use split, right, this is 1:1 ratio. You can't use the 2:1 ratio that you've captured. See, it's all gray out. So we got to upload. So let's say, for example, okay, you can actually upload. Okay, be it the single. Okay, let me just do some correction over here. Now, be it you using the full screen or the separate screen, right, or should I say the screen split, you can upload videos too. Okay, for example, if you want to do 2:1 ratio, you can, which is actually a single mode. Right now, I'm just going to do the split mode, so it's 1:1 ratio. Okay, this is what I want. Then I click on done. Now for videos, right, I would advise not to make it longer than about 3 minutes. In fact, 1 to 2 minutes is more than enough. Cool. So it's uploaded. It takes some time. So imagine that right now I'm doing this. I click on this. This will show. And when you save it, see what happened? My chipmunk will be moving on this screen, which is on the left, and on the right, okay, which is this, you can upload another. Let's say, for example, okay, I'm just going to upload this. Okay, this happened that I was actually overseas and I capture these animals, and this is actually a bear. All right, so when I click on done, you just upload. So whatever you uploaded, right, it will take some time. Once that's done, right, it will appear on your customization screen. See, I can set over this and to click. So as mentioned to you, right, see, if you want to use the split screen, which is 1:1 ratio, right, you can't use the 2:1 ratio. If you want to use single, right, you can use the 2.1, I mean 2:1 ratio, but not, see, not the 1:1 ratio. So take note on this. Okay, back to here. So I save. See, as you can see, my bear is on my right, my chipmunk is on my left. So this is actually how you play the screen itself. And of course, system info, you can just select what you want. Okay, probably I'll set the GPU temperature and the motherboard temperature, and I click on save. See, I can do on different screen. So let's say this one I want to show maybe, oh, okay, this one I want to show something else. Probably not the motherboard, not this, but instead I want to show the voltage of the CPU, the voltage of the GPU, or maybe I want to set the hard drive temperature. When I save on this, right, see, it will change according to what you have set. So you have total control of both sides. And just to take note, you are only able to set system info with 3 settings on each screen. Okay, be it single, so 3 here, 3 here. But if you are using the full screen, right, you are only able to use 3 max. Okay, let me just save. See? And of course, this position, you can put it to the extreme right. Sorry, extreme left, which you can't see over here, or the extreme right. So these are the things that you can play with the screen, and it's all up to you. Alright, for screen capture, it's a bit messy. So this is the full screen. I need to show you the control buttons and such. So before you toggle this, right, go to the picture that you wanted. For example, this is the one that I want. Alright, then you click on screen capture. See, the problem is that this application, right, will block your screen. So make sure, click on cancel. Make sure that you go below whatever you want to screen capture. Okay, down here, let me just set it to sharper. Alright, now back to this application over here. So what you need to do, right, bring this down, click on screen recording, and when you click on screen recording, right, you have this interface over here where you either capture it 2:1 ratio, 1:1 ratio, and what are the resolution you can select. Okay, what are the frame rate that you wanted, and the duration is only 30 seconds. Okay, take note, you can't record more than 30 seconds. And you will need to select this area. Take for example, let's say this area. Okay, you can click on start recording. When you finish off the 30 seconds, right, it will stop. As you can see here, it will tell you how long the duration is at the top. So once this is done, right, okay, I'll let it run. Once this is done, right, it will save automatically onto a folder which you have earlier on did the setup, and it asks you where you want to save the recorded stuff. So once it's done, right, see, it's done. Then I will need to go to the folder, which is this. See, this is what I have done. I recorded this. Okay, just to show you. See? And then you can make use of the application. Okay, going back to the application to load from here. See, you will need to set this is 2:1 ratio. Just click done, you will upload. So this is a function of the screen recording when you want to do, and I mean record the background animated stuff, right? So when I do this, select this, and to select this, and to save, take a look at my screen. See? It shows. So this is how it works. The application is pretty straightforward, and there are limitations in customization. As I mentioned to you, right, this thing here, make sure that you mount in a way that the host is facing towards the M.2. If you were to turn this over, right, you might have some issues, as in like you can't rotate the screen at all. So do take note on this. This is something that you can't do. So those people who actually, using the inverted case, right, this probably not a good idea to have this unit, or probably you find some ways to actually do it, because this is where the right hand side of the case is at, where your M.2 is over here. If you invert the case, right, the M.2 is is at the top. So this makes your host, right, facing that direction, and your screen display, right, will be of the opposite side. So do take note on this. Okay, just an illustration. Taking a look at the system resources under task manager, this is how much it's taking, and it's running. Okay, I can change the screen to something which is this probably, and to save it. Okay, probably I want to upload. Take a look at the resources while I'm doing this. Okay, it's uploading. Take a look. Yep, uploading, it does take CPU processing power. Then once this is done, right, see, it will just drop. And if I were to load that on the screen, okay, 2:1 ratio, I save it. I have to put single. Okay, save it. See, it's running. Take a look at the resources. It's running at the background right now. And this is what happened. The system resources is not a lot. In fact, it's always consistent, 0.3, 0.2, etc. When it's, when you're not doing anything with this Canali application. So this is actually what happened. Very low system resources, even if you are to do preset. See, it doesn't really take up much resources. Very consistent. Now to conduct the noise test, as you can see on my right, where you have the stats, take note on the CPU fan, the pump fan, and right at the bottom there is a current RPM. Now for the CPU fan, in fact, it's my radiator fans. For the pump fan, in fact, it's the pump itself. And right below, right, that's the reason I can't pull to hardware info. That's why I have to place it right below, which is coming from the application Canali. Now that RPM is in fact the VRM fan in this unit. So right now I'm just going to move my microphone near to the pump, and this is my microphone. I'm going to place it near to the pump. And that is at full speed where the microphone is near. Now I'm just going to clip my microphone to this stand and to place it over here where it takes the reading of the pump and the radiator fans at idle. So the microphone is away from the radiator fans about half a meter. Then away from the pump is about 30 cm or so. Now this is at idle. And now I'm going to ramp up the Cinebench, where you can see that my stats, right, those fan areas that I told you to monitor, they will pump up inclusive of the CPU temperature. So that's how it sounds like when it's at load, the noise of the pump and the fans that ramp up. Now I let it idle and you listen to the idle noise. I'm going to ramp up the Cinebench, and when it load, listen to it. And as you can hear the noise when it's at idle and when it's at load. Tell me, what do you think about the noise? Now, I'm going to conduct a thermal test using this liquid AIO with the settings that I will do, which I will show you on my dashboard. Now, something to take note, the room temperature in fact is 31.5 degrees Celsius and is consistent. So I'm testing at this environment. Believe it or not, Singapore is a hot and humid country. And also based on the fact that I'm not using any other thermal paste or such, I'm just using the pre-paste coming from this unit. PC components that I've used in this thermal test basically is the AMD Ryzen 9 7950X with the MSI Morta V650M. And the RAMs are of Kingbang Dark Heatsink with a cache latency of 28 at a bus speed of 6000 with a voltage of 1.45. As for the PBO2 limits that I've set on the UEFI, based on the fact that I've set the PVT to 192 watt, the TDC to 152 ampere, and the EDC to 170 ampere. As for the curve optimizer, I've set it to minus 18. For the vCore offset, I've set to minus 0.05. Now, through the run, right, kindly take note. Okay, let me just forward. Kindly take note on all the temperature, like the CPU, the frequency of the clock speed, then the usage and such, and the power drawn. And this PBT, TDC, EDC, right, I mentioned to you I've set a fixed point whereby you have this 192, 152, and 170 ampere. But it doesn't mean that when I fix all these points, right, this will pull. It greatly depends on the cooling of the liquid air. So you just pull as much as possible. Then next, take note on the CPU fan and the palm, etc. And these are the system temperature, whereby you have the system, which is the motherboard, the chipset, the MOSFET. Okay, ignore this. I should have removed this totally. This is inaccurate. Then followed by the RAMs, which you have 2 slot. Then followed by the drive. And as it runs, right, I not only make use of the processor but the APU, which is the integrated graphic on the processor, which you can see over here. So I'm gonna stress it even more. So see how much that it can take, as in like how much high the temperature can go. And for this clock speed, or should I say clock, I mean the core clock, this is on the average, which I taken from here. Okay, based on the fact that you should be looking at this area here, how much can it pull? Right, with this area at the idle, the temperature is not too bad. In fact, it's hovering around, 50 to 52 degrees Celsius. It doesn't go beyond that. In fact, it does bump a bit when you launch browser and such. It does go 54, 55, but never go beyond that. It stays there. So when I pull this to the midpoint, which is around the 5 minutes point, okay, let me just pull around here. So let me just play. Take a look at temperature, 78 degrees Celsius. Shockingly. And looking at the clock speed, wow, this is amazing. Of all the 360 liquid AIO, right, I've never seen such readings before. And take a look at this at midpoint, right? It's pulling 5.225 consistently, or 5.2. It doesn't want to let go at 5.1 and such. Pretty impressive. And looking at the motherboard, the chipset, and the DDR5 and such, right, hovering very well temperatured, which is not above 55 degrees Celsius, which is good. Now, I'm gonna pull this to the last 2 minutes. Okay, probably around here. And I'm gonna run. Check this out. It's still at 78 degrees Celsius. It doesn't change. And all this, right, still retain as what it is. Probably 1 degree Celsius higher. And look at the clock speed. See, it's still pulling 5.2 gig or 5.25 gig. And when you look at this graph, right, in fact, this is actually taken from here, the average, and look at the lines over here. Yes, I know it does check it. I did mention that if it check it, right, it throttle. But this, right, is not throttling at all. It can sustain and is trying to pull even further. Look at the power package. I've set to 192. This is the first time that I see can pull all the way to 190, okay, or 189, around there. See, it is trying to pull as much as possible to push the clock speed. This liquid AIO is really a monster, where you can see all these kind of results. Where does the Tryx Panorama 360 sit? Well, you can say this is actually a biased judgment, but this is just on my own opinion. It is the top charter, based on the fact that it can sustain at this frequency with this temperature and with a much lower RPM compared to some of the green liquid AIO, and also to the fact that the fan RPM is also lower as compared to these two, except for Arctic. Now, why am I saying that this is biased? Based on the fact that the temperature on the Mambo, the DDR5s and such, but I can understand the fact that the cooling solution is pushing, okay, SNI, to have the system to push the clock frequency to this high. Never have I expected to sustain at this clock speed consistently. Even if it's not at 5.225 gig, right, it should be around 5.2 gig, which is great. So I compromised the fact that based on all this temperature over here, yes, it's not really fantastic as compared to this, but based on the fact on the frequency of the clock and the temperature of the CPU, so all this temperature over here, right, does meet the criteria as in, like, it doesn't exceed 55 degrees Celsius, except for the M.2. If you to witness my past test, right, if you can click on my top right hand corner, it will show you that my Mota M.2 heatsink is using the original M.2 heatsink. Else, for some of the tests, latest tests like the PC cooler, the let's see, this cooler and such, they are not using the original M.2 heatsink. And you might argue that, hey, look, even though you're doing that, but see, these are much lower temperature. But to me, is that it fluctuates based on my M.2 heatsink. Okay, it's inconsistent. That's all I can say about the M.2. But the rest, it does check out pretty fine, where it's pulling this frequency, drawing more wattage as your weakness, and sustaining CPU temperature at 78. I will give this a winner. I will tell you my thoughts regarding about this Tryx Panorama 360 liquid AIO. Before I do so, right, I had this unit with me since mid-November, around 15 or 16 November, where they have sent this unit and the additional fans to me. And whatever you see in this content at the beginning, where I show you the pump block with the pre-paste and such, is on that very same day. And I have mounted and placed in my open bench, and I've tested more than a month or so, based on the fact that I pay more attention. In fact, most of the liquid AIO, I do pay attention to them and to try run them before I do the content. And this, as mentioned, is not a cheap product. It's an expensive product. but it's at premium, and I want to test how well does it perform. Does the screen deteriorate? Does the pump make more noise and such? So on a regular basis, I'm using this on my open bench to do my leisure work and such. So with this said, it's up to you to trust what I'm going to say. First of all, the performance of this liquid AIO is exceptionally good based on the fact that how they engineer it. Tryx in fact have gave me a documentation on how the company is brought about and such, and it does check out everything. In fact, I've summarized everything about Tryx at the very beginning of the B-roll, stating that yes, they are a brand new company coming on to the PC world to sell their innovative products, and they excel in every aspects. First of all, the pump itself. Now, as I told you, the specs is on 2600, and if you read the specs itself, right, be it on the package itself when you purchase or on my screen, it's stated that 2600 plus minus 400. In fact, that is the meaning whereby if your motherboard, the header is able to provide the amperage to your pump and the VRM, right? I mean VRM heatsink, sorry, VRM fan, because these two make use of only one connection point. If you're able to provide more amperage, right, it will just pull up whatever RPM it is above 2600, and it's proven on my result. It did pull all the way to 3000 RPM. So with the fast speed rotation, right, it pushes water through the tube. And another thing which they have done correctly, the tube itself is at 12mm when I measure through the vernier caliper. But if you were to remove off the sleeve and the thickness of the tube itself, right, inside it should be around 8mm. So having more solution pushing out of the pump and coming in from the pump, plus the fin stack. I am shocked with the fin stack of the radiator. This is the first time that I measured within 1 inch is 28 fins per inch. And that is very dense. And also with the thickness of the radiator, there are more surface area to absorb. So the dense fin stack plus the surface area, right, this check out very well. It performs very, very, very well. So with this say, right, you have witnessed the performance is able to pull a wattage. Okay, this is my very first, not say very first time, but this is one of the special moment that I see that this pump block can allow to draw up to 189 to 190 watt TDP in order to push the clock speed to 5.2. You have witnessed it throughout the whole 10 minutes run as a night. It can pull. And having a boost clock of 5.4 to 5.5 or even 5.6, no issue, but consistently is trying to pull as much as possible. This tells that this cooler, right, is in fact giving tons of cooling. The next thing is the LCD itself. As prolonged usage, I was thinking that, will it deteriorate? Will it, have some issues with the system resource and such? Again, proven. It's still looking very good after 1 month plus of usage. Okay, I can't talk much about 2 or 3 months down the road, but for me right now, considering within the month, this is performing pretty well. The only thing is that I would say that probably their application is still at a young stage. They might need to improve on that to have more customization, as in able to rotate the screen itself. But minus of the point, if you were to rotate the screen, right, then you're going to have a problem whereby there's only one suction area for your VRM fan, and it's in this format, right, in this way of mounting it, right, you're doing it correct, whereby it draw cool air and to cool off your rear VRM heatsink. Same goes to the side. Speaking of the side, right, I hope they have create ventilated, or should I say grill area, whereby it will just push more cool air to the side VRM. So this is one thing. Okay, back to where I was. If you are to do it inverted, okay, this is when you mount it to a normal case whereby our glass panel is actually on the right, if you were to invert it, right, then you're gonna have a problem whereby, yes, you still can plug in the way it is. Okay, you probably can just swivel this over, but your your rear, right, will be at the front instead of the rear. So you're cooling the RAMs instead of cooling the VRM. Well, that might work, but I would prefer to cool off the rear VRM heatsink rather than the RAMs. So this is something. The other thing is that as I use it and as I explore and such, the attention to details is fantastic on the unit itself. It looks simple, it looks elegant, it doesn't go way beyond like a Christmas tree or such. And they do have the ARGB version. And something to take note, if you guys are purchasing this unit, I hope that you will get this Rota Pro 120 fans without the ARGB. Reason being, right, you're paying for what you're getting. Okay, and why I say so, these fans here are made of LCP, liquid crystal polymer, and the axis on the fan or the rotor motor on the fan blade itself, right, they are aligned precisely. And with the strong material, right, it can ramp up at a higher RPM. In fact, it go way beyond the 2250 RPM also. And for the long period of run, this will work out very well. Okay. Else for ARGB, if you want aesthetic, well, okay, you can go for that, but you need to know that you're compromising something, which is the material made out from the ARGB blade. They are of the same structure, it's just that the material is different. And for that, right, you can't ramp up at high RPM, you can't produce more CFM, nor the static pressure. So having to say this, right, this is your choice whether you want to get the ARGB version fans or the normal fans, which is the Rota Pro 120. For my choice, right, having to pay this, right, I want performance. I will just grab this normal without the ARGB. I can go without it. Reason being, right, the highlight in fact is this omelette screen, not your fans, and you're placing all the ARGB all over the shot, making it like a Christmas tree. I mean, it's like, okay, this is an elegant product, this is not a kiddish product. So I think the ARGB, right, for my opinion, right, I can go without. Now, something to nitpick. Based on the fact that the price that you pay, right, I understand that this costs a lot. The screen itself costs a lot. But it will not be a more additional cost or such if Tryx can provide just clips to the tube so that it will hold in place. Also, another thing is that please, Tryx, if you can, provide a microfabric cloth. Reason being, right, this, when you are fiddling with it, okay, one time when you're fiddling with it, right, it does have fingerprints. So we can use this to clean, giving the consumer a much better experience with your product. And besides this, right, well, the application itself needs some polishing. I believe this is at a young age, so they might Tryx might develop much more better features. So I hope that will be done, especially with the readings, right? There are not enough readings, which I feel, to fill up. In fact, this is actually a very big screen. If you look at this angle, right, most of the time we are right, the slots over here, okay, you can have another 3 more additional readings, but that is only on split screen. If you want to have full, right, you only have 3. So I hope that you can display more, probably up to 5. Okay, 5 is not a lot. Of course, I wouldn't want to flood everything with stats. And another factor is that the positioning on all this, right, you only have 3 choices, which is left, center, or right. And this order, right, it's fixed. So if you can do it this way, as in like you can move this down, move this up and such, and having different position, right, that would be great. And as for the capture screen, right, it only allows 30 seconds. I understand where you're coming from, as I've shown my viewers that the resource taking on this block here is not always staying at 1 megabyte, or 1 gigabyte or so. In fact, it hovers around 0.2, 0.3 megabyte, which is very little on the processing on the processor itself. And I also find out that when I flip this screen itself, right, the interior, right, there is an IC chip, meaning to say it doesn't really need much of your CPU processing. Instead, it will pick up the reading from, you know, from the stats of your system, the sensor, then straight to this unit. That's the reason why it's not so, I mean, for the reading wise, right, it's not so customizable. You can't show RPM on here and such. So I hope that will be implemented in later version. Alright, those are the things that I like to talk about it. And is it worth to purchase this product? To me, if you fancy a large curved LCD, which is unique, and packed with performance, yes, you can go for it. But if you want something simple and such and doesn't cost that much, right, then I would say that you might want to look at other liquid AL. But take to the point, alright, this liquid AL outperform all that I've tested. In fact, this is right now ranking number 1 in my list, though it's paying at a premium price. And for me, it is worth everything to purchase this with a large screen display. With this said, I'd like to thank Tryx to have provided this unit and also the additional fans for me to share with everyone. And if you guys are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.